Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivaradari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtottara Shatashi Srimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, entitled Creation of the Fourth Order. Chapter 29, the talks between Narada and King Prachinibarhi. And we're on text 36. Tatmano Rita Bhutasya Tatmo Rita Bhutasya Yato Narta Parampara Yato Narta Parampara Samsritis Tad Vyavachedo Bhaktya Paramaya Gurau Bhaktya Paramaya Gurau Tatmanota Bhutasya Yatonarta Parampara Samsmitis Tadvid Vichedo Bhaktya Bhaktya Paramaya Gurau Tatmanota Bhutasya Yato Tarta Parampara Samsitis Tadvyavachedo Bhaktya Paramaya Gurau Ata, therefore, Atmanaha, of the living entity, Artabhutasya, having his real interest, Yataha, from which, Anartha, of all unwanted things, Parampara, a series one after another, Samsmritihi, material existence, Tat, of that, Vyavichedaha, stopping, Bhaktya, by devotional service, Paramaya, unalloyed, Gurau, unto the Supreme Lord or his representative, Vasudeva, Bhagavati, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhakti Yogataha, devotional service, Samahitaha, applied, Sadrichinena, completely, Vairagyam, detachment, Jnanam, full knowledge, Cha, and Janayishyati, will cause to manifest. So the second one is Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Samahitaha Sadrichinena Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Janayishyati, which is text 37 together. Translation, commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The real interest of the living entity is to get out of the nescience that causes him to endure repeated birth and death. The only remedy is to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead through his representative. And thus one renders devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, one cannot possibly become detached from this material world. What did I say? Oh, completely. One cannot... Alright, so we'll rewind. Okay, rewind and then... One cannot possibly become completely detached from this material world, nor can he possibly manifest real knowledge. Purport. This is the way to become detached from the artificial material condition. The only remedy is to take to Krishna consciousness and constantly engage in the devotional service of Lord Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everyone is trying to be happy, and the process adopted to achieve that happiness is called self-interest. Unfortunately, the conditioned soul hovering within this material world does not know that his ultimate goal of self-interest is Vasudeva. Samsriti, or material existence, begins with the illusioned bodily conception of life, and on the basis of this conception there ensues a series of unwanted things, anarthas. These unwanted things are actually mental desires for various types of sense gratification. In this way, one accepts different types of bodies within this material world. One first has to control the mind so that the desires of the mind can be purified. This process is described in the Narada Pantaratra as Sarvapadi Vanirmuktam Tatparat Twainam Nirmalam. Unless one purifies his mind, there is no question of getting free from the material condition. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 7, Text 6, Anarto Pashamam Sakshad Bhakti Yoga Adhoksaje Lokasya Janito Vidvams Chakre Satvata Samhitam. The material miseries of the living entity, which are superfluous to him, can be directly mitigated by the linking process of devotional service. But the mass of people do not know this, and therefore the learned Vyasadeva compiled this Vedic literature, which is in relation to the supreme truth. Anarthas, unwanted things, come down from one bodily life to another. To get out of this entanglement, one has to take to the devotional service of Lord Vasudeva, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The word guru is significant in this connection. The word guru may be translated as heavy, or the supreme. In other words, the guru is the spiritual master. Srila Rishabhadev advised his sons, Gurur na sasyat namochayad ya samupetam mrityum. One should not take up the post of spiritual master unless he is able to lead his disciple from the cycle of birth and death. Bhagavatam, Canto 5, text, Chapter 5, text 18. Material existence is actually a chain of action and reaction brought about by different types of fruitive activities. This is the cause of birth and death. One can stop this process only by engaging oneself in the service of Vasudeva. Bhakti refers to those activities performed in the service of Lord Vasudeva. Because Lord Vasudeva is the Supreme, one should engage oneself in his service, not in the service of the demigods. Devotional service begins from the neophyte stage, the stage of observing the rules and regulations, and extends to the point of spontaneous loving service to the Lord. The purpose of all stages is to satisfy Lord Vasudeva. When one is perfectly advanced in the devotional service of Vasudeva, one becomes completely detached from the service of the body, that is, his designated position in material existence. After becoming so detached, one becomes actually perfect in knowledge and engages perfectly in the service of Lord Vasudeva. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Jivera Sarup Hoy Krishnara Nitya Das. Every living entity is by constitutional position an eternal servant of Krishna. As soon as one engages in the service of Lord Vasudeva, he attains his normal constitutional position. This position is called the liberated stage, Muktir Hitvan Yata Rupam Surupena Vivastiti. In the liberated stage, one is situated in his original Krishna-conscious position. He gives up all engagements in the service of matter, engagements concocted under the names of social service, national service, community service, dog service, automobile service, and so many other services conducted under the illusion of I and mine. As explained in the second chapter of the first canto, Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Priyojataha Janayat Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chadyat Ahoitakam. By rendering devotional service under the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from the world. Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 7. Thus one must engage in the service of Vasudeva without material desire, mental speculation, or fruitive activity. Om Gyanatipadandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshulan Militamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Pakam Karativachalam Pangam Langa Tegrim Yakripatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Diritananam. Vancha Kapatribishta Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavani Bil Vaishnave Bil Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhuditananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So in this material existence, it's very easy to get lost. Just like King Prachanibarhishat, he became lost in the sense that he became so absorbed in all of these mundane, or you could say karmakanda, Vedic sacrifices in which he was trying to go to the heavenly planets. And not only did he get lost, but he was setting himself up for a lot of pain in the future, a lot of suffering. So not only do people get lost, but they get lost and it doesn't really work out. It's not that they get lost and it works out. They get lost and it doesn't work out. It means, as Prabhupada was saying here in the purport, everyone's striving for happiness. So yeah, it's easy to get lost and easily become distracted, easily to drift away from the ultimate goal of life. And Srila Prabhupada was once walking in Los Angeles at Venice Beach there, and he had a group of disciples around walking with him, and there was one young, new bhakta, young man, and all the devotees were walking, and Srila Prabhupada was chanting japa, all the devotees were chanting japa. Then japa. And then this young boy, he saw like, I don't know, like an ocean crab or something. Immediately he went over there and he started like, looking at it and analyzing it. And so Srila Prabhupada noticed that. Of course, Prabhupada noticed everything. But Prabhupada was very conscious of his surroundings. I mean, on a little side note, but Prabhupada would even say sometimes to devotees, seriously, he would say, "Oh, how many train cars passed?" And devotees, and Prabhupada would know how many passed and how many steps, does this staircase have? So Prabhupada was conscious of his surroundings. So anyways, Prabhupada noticed this boy, and then he told the devotees, he said, "Oh yeah, this boy is not going to last. He's too distracted." And then fast forward some 6 months later, and the boy was gone. He didn't last. Too distracted. So Prabhupada could see that. And this is what happens. I mean, people, they take to Krishna consciousness and they just become distracted. They become lost, caught up in so many different things, external things that aren't important. And just like, anyways, we hope that all of these people, of course, whatever credit they've amassed and whatever they've done in devotional service, it's to their credit, and in the future, hopefully, we hope, they come back and all that. But there was this one. His name was Bhakti Carlos, not the Carlos who was here, but another Carlos, and he would be chanting Hare Krishna all day long on his beads. That was his program. He didn't want to do any other thing. He was chanting. And then at one point he got one of those harmonica, those things that you attach to a guitar, and then so you could play harmonica there. So he got one of those, and I'm not exactly sure what he did, how he attached it to himself or what he did, but he got a picture of Krishna, right? And he was just chanting in front of it, Hare Krishna. And then so he had these different ideas how to meditate on Krishna. So he was chanting in front of this picture. And then he thought, okay, now let me circumambulate the temple, which that's also, in the Nectar Devotion, Prabhupada says we should do that. So he was doing that. Okay, let me circumambulate the temple. So he was doing that, and then he said, okay, well, let me just circumambulate the temple from a farther distance, like 40 blocks, circumambulate like that. So he was doing that, chanting, and then he just disappeared. The devotees didn't see him. So then fast forward 3 years later, this was in L.A. So fast forward 3 years later in Pittsburgh, long distance away from L.A., the devotees, they're doing some program at a kirtan program, preaching program. And the devotees, they come out of this preaching program and they see police running by. And they're, oh, what is this? The police run by. And all of a sudden, they see this manhole, the manholes in the sidewalks and streets. They see the lid of the manhole open up. And then they see this person come out and ask, oh, are the police gone? And it was Bhakti Carlos. From L.A. to Pittsburgh, and the devotees happened to be right there. So I'm not exactly sure what happened to Carlos, but hopefully happy ending. But so we could see how the mind could just take us so many different places. And within our Krishna consciousness, we'll be faced with many, you could say, opportunities to go this way or go that way, to become more and more distracted or to become more and more focused on Krishna. And even small decisions we made, or seemingly small decisions we make, will influence that. Our ability to focus on Krishna, or our ability to get distracted by the illusory energy. And therefore this verse here, it is saying, Prabhupada in the verses, and with Narada Muni in the verse is saying that one should become detached from this material world. One should one shouldn't be bewildered by it. One should become detached from this world. So yeah, again, within our lives, there'll be many opportunities where we could further our attachments to this world, or where we could become more detached, more serious. Just like when His Holiness Radhanath Swami was traveling across the world, making his way to India gradually, he was in Italy, and he was going to these different cathedrals, very beautiful, and yeah. So one day they went to a cathedral, and then he was praying to God and trying to, I don't know you, please guide me, and very fervently praying and wanting to know God and be connected to God. So then he goes out to a local forest nearby, and he's playing his harmonica as like kind of trying to, I guess, connect with God or whatever he's doing through music. So then he's playing there for hours, actually, his harmonica. So then all of a sudden he looks over and he sees this young, beautiful woman there, standing there. And this is at night, so the moon was whatever, shining, and she was there, and young, beautiful woman. And then she says to him, she says, "Oh, I've been listening to you play your harmonica for hours, and I really like it. And is it okay if I sit close to you and I listen?" And he said, "Okay, that's fine." So he continued playing, but then as he explains that it wasn't the same. I mean, there's somebody there, and he knew she was there. It was, young, attractive woman, and so then he looks at her, and then they begin to talk, and she explains how she's from a village in Switzerland, and him explaining all this, he says that she was all that she was how did he say it? I have it written down here. Anyway, she was all that he could want in terms of a young, attractive woman. And also, aside from that, she was saying how she wanted to be connected with God. She was searching for God, and she was looking for spiritual friendship. Visiting from her on a holiday, looking for spiritual friends from Switzerland, visiting. And yeah, they spoke for hours. They spoke for hours, and they had so much in common, and they were they really liked each other. He was attracted to her, she was attracted to him. So then the next day they spend the day then what she says, she says, I was praying to God for a companion, and please take me wherever you go. So yeah, then the next day they spend the day together and going to museums and parks and talking, and then they part ways, and then he's up with his friend Gary. That was his traveling buddy, Radhanath Swami's traveling buddy. So he was on this hill with Gary, and all of a sudden another woman comes up. She studies his eyes, and then she gives him a piece of paper, and the piece of paper was from this young woman, that Irene, her name was. So then on the letter written to young Richard, what is his name? Richard, young Richard. I think it's Slavin or something, Solvin. Anyways, but young Richard. This letter says that please accept me, and we could travel together, and I really like to spend my life with you, or whatever, in essence. Looking for enlightenment, this and that. And so please think about it. And if you don't accept me, then I don't think I could see you again, because it'll be too painful. So if I don't hear from you, then I understand, that you didn't accept my proposal. So then it said that he went to a nearby forest, and he was thinking and praying and meditating, and now he was thinking, should I accept this person to travel with me, and she's such a gentle, angelic young woman. Should I accept her and travel with me, or should I just go solo? And then he thought that I don't know much about her, but I know that if I say no, it will break her heart and mine. He had some objection to. So then he was thinking, and then he thought to himself. He thought about the different lamas and Catholic saints, and different monks who have lived a life which they weren't in a relationship, and they just devoted all their energy and time to establishing their relationship with God. So he thought about that. So then he was thinking, and then some time passed, and then it says he pulled out his address book, and while a tear hit the address book, he explains, he crossed out her name, Irene. He crossed out her name. And then that was it. And then he made his way to India. Now, how is that for a love story? Valentine's Day is coming up. How's that for a good love story? Now, someone may say, why did he do that? Like, she was young and beautiful and attractive, and she was God conscious, and she wanted, to spend her life with him. And what's the problem? Why did he do that? Well, then the question is, first of all, Maharaj is quite detached. That's one thing. But aside from that, the question is, in what position a living entity has to place themselves in a position in which they will contribute the most, or do the most service for Krishna, for the spiritual master, and humanity. So for him, he found that for me to be single and just to dedicate myself to the pursuit of God realization, single, that's what I feel is the best. Will be the best for me. Whereas, maybe for others, that's not the best. Something else is the best. I mean, it's the other option. So that is the main criteria. In what position I'm going to place myself in order for me to perform the best service to Krishna, to my spiritual master. Now, of course, within the living entity, a cheating mentality is found often, in that people are thinking that, like on a selfish level, that okay, I have these desires, and I can't be. I'm no Radhanath Swami. I'm no. So it's obvious what I'm going to do. People will think that, it's obvious what I need to do. I need to enter family life and this and that, and that may be the case for a lot of people. But that is not a license to be irresponsible. As Prabhupada quotes the verse here, Guru Nasasyat, right? That if you want to be a guru, spiritual master, father, husband, any responsible position, you have to be able to deliver your dependence from the cycle of birth and death. So in other words, you have to be detached. Whatever path you take, you have to be detached. Or we have to be detached. And the mentality that, okay, well, I need to do this. People think I need to do this. I can't live a celibate life. I can't live a brahmachari life. Then let me move on. That's fine, but a person has to move on intelligently. Like a person may have that desire. They may need to get married, but who are they going to marry? It's not like, okay, well, I need to get married, so I'm just going to marry someone who's a non-devotee, for example, who has no interest in Krishna consciousness. Well, that's not a good idea. Better you be patient and not so passionate, and wait till you find somebody who's a real devotee or a very serious devotee that will help you, actually uplift you rather than degrade you. Just like we had this Bhakti here, I mean, whatever, he wasn't very, but he didn't stay too long, and in many ways he wasn't serious, but he was obviously by no means like a brahmachari, but he stayed in the temple for some time, and he actually was a break dancer. Break dancing, I think he tried it in the temple room a few times, and in the kirtan, I forgot, he probably had some made up name or something, but I forgot what it was. It wasn't Buster. It was who knows. Anyways, I think he did it a few times in the temple breakdance, but especially on Harinam, downtown Harinam, you get on the sidewalk and you start breakdancing, right? He had his pants, maybe he had a dhoti, but it was in Alex Buiga's Amrita Nam's days here, but it was kind of like his bhakta. But yeah, and then at the Sunday feast, there was some young woman who came to the Sunday feast, and then they were both kind of talking, and then he was gone. So, so in other words, you could say, okay, well, that person he wasn't so serious, but even serious devotees. Even people who are quite serious, they also fall into circumstances like that. It's not that, only, not serious bhaktas fall into. No, very serious people fall into circumstances as well. And sometimes they fall for that. So in other words, a person should be intelligent, and they should analyze, and what's okay, I have particular desires, so what's the best way to fulfill those desires in a Krishna conscious way? Not like, I just have desires and let me just fulfill them. That's not good. So many people, so that's just one aspect of, going this way or going that way. But that is the challenge in Krishna consciousness, that we do not become distracted by, these are just some examples, but it could be anything. There's a long list of distractions that could completely hijack our consciousness. And therefore, that is the value of becoming. That's the value of being detached. And how do we become detached? Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janatyati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Yadahoitakam. We become detached by rendering devotional service. Automatically or immediately, a person acquires causeless knowledge and detachment from this world. And if we're not detached from this world, it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous. For brahmacharis, it's very dangerous not to be detached. For householders, very dangerous not to be detached. For vanaprasthas, very dangerous. Sannyasis, very dangerous not to be detached. And being detached means, okay, we're detached from this world and all the distractions. In other words, when the temptations arise, gross, subtle, whatever the temptation may be. There's a bunch of them. If we're detached, we're able to not let those infect us to the degree where we just become lost. So that is the value of detachment. And therefore it's stressed so much. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that the reason he came, right, what's that? Nija Bhakti Yoga, Shikshartamayakam Purusha Purana. That Lord Chaitanya, he came to teach devotion to himself, right, how to be a devotee, and also he came to teach detachment. So yeah, we have to be detached. There's no way of getting around it. We have to be detached. We have to learn how to be detached from this world. And that means developing our attachment to Krishna by the process of devotional service. And giving up all the other things, whatever, national service, social service, dog service, automobile service. Never heard Prabhupada give that term automobile service, but he usually just says national service and social service and these things, but he says automobile service. I guess Prabhupada, understanding that people are very attached to their cars, means their material bodies and also their cars. You see these people, they're waxing their cars and polishing their. I saw two young guys doing that the other day. They had their big truck out and polishing their big fancy Ford truck and their wheels, and so their dogs. People are very attached to their dogs, right? So that's a whole nother story. But so yeah, we have to be careful, because what happens, we whatever we think of our truck at the time of death, or we think about our dog, or we think about Trump, or think about Biden, or we think about COVID-19, or leaving our body, or whatever. I mean, we may be thinking about so many things. So to be careful. And I'm not saying not to think of these things, but we have to be very, very careful, because we're trying to develop love for Krishna, and that comes by a very serious one-pointed focus on Krishna. And then naturally that detachment will come. Okay, so does anybody have any questions? So Janardhan is, I don't know where Janardhan is. Alex is cooking breakfast. Damodar Kumar is cooking lunch. Glenn is at Maharaj's. Vijay Prabhu is going to the dentist. Larry, I might have offended Larry in halfway through the class, so he left. So I can't speak for anybody else. But Jamal's in Phoenix, Arizona. Maybe he's listening, but maybe not. But does anybody have any questions here in the room, or does anybody have any questions or comments on Zoom or Facebook, WhatsApp?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Jai.
We don't have any questions or comments in YouTube, but we see 12 people watching now. And Rajendra Prabhu is with us in Zoom.
Jai. Yeah. Maybe you could speak into the mic. Oh, Bhakti Carlos in LA. It's a true story, but I heard it from I'm listening to these lectures. Tamal Krishna Goswami's in Manila, Philippines, and he's quite an enthusiastic group there, Philippines, and he's speaking with them, devotees, and yeah, very sweet interactions he's having in the class and everything. But he told that story of Bhakti Carlos in LA. So he was just saying, because people he was just saying that to be careful, that we follow and not get distracted and everything. So, but yeah, we have that also example of Prabhupada gave Babaji to one of his disciples. Yeah. And because he had, it seemed, at least some doctors. You go to some dentist and they tell you, hey, you got to rip that tooth out. It's just gonna, really. I mean, this kind of dramatic, or extreme example, but you got to rip that tooth out. It's really causing. You go to another one, say, no, you don't got to rip it out. We'll just put a root canal. Another one, you go to another one. Oh yeah, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Yeah, wear a mouth guard or something. So you do hear different opinions, but anyways, he went to one doctor, and the doctor said, oh, well, you have cancer, terminal cancer, and you're going to leave your body. So then Prabhupada, so this devotee went to Prabhupada asking for sannyas, and then Prabhupada said, no, we won't give you sannyas, we'll give you Babaji. You could just chant Hare Krishna. Get ready. So then he was doing that, then somehow or other he went to another doctor, and he realized he didn't have terminal cancer, so he just gave up the Babaji life, and he, some devotees say, I don't know if it's true, but they say they saw him in America with his, whatever, fancy car and his girlfriend or something. I don't know, maybe that's an exaggeration, but he disappeared, so. Or, devotees get a little money or something, and, all right, I'm out of here, now I could, I don't know what they think, oh, yeah, now, Mukunda said, I got my $600 stimulus check, now I'm ready to enter the world and enjoy, So, but yeah, it's questionable sometimes, but, sometimes brahmacharis in the ashram, and they're thinking, yeah, this is kind of cool, and, everything's kind of taken care of, and I chant Hare Krishna, do some service or something, but sometimes, yeah, that may be a temptation. What happens, your uncle, your great-great-uncle passes away when he's 40, and he was actually, you're thinking he's going to pass away when he was 80. He's a rich fellow, got a lot of money, invested in oil, whatever, or this or that. One devotee told me that. He said his father passed away when he was like 60, but he was thinking, my father will pass away when he's 80, 20 years, and then all of a sudden he's got, all this property and things. Of course, he was serious, so it didn't bother him, But yeah, someone gets a bunch of money, they think, well, I mean, this is kind of nice, but I could just move out and, enjoy and have my apartment, taken care of, and I got to, listen to the temple commander or whoever. So yeah, but the brahmachari ashram should definitely not be a place of, what do you call that? Festering, a place where we're kind of like, what is that called when you're stewing? I guess a place where brahmacharis sitting, festering desires, and they have all these plans, and they're stewing up these big plans to enter the material world. And a lot of the times, brahmacharis are just hallucinating, and it's just a pipe dream, and they're not really going to do that. But it's not healthy, to pipe dream. Yeah. All right. Any last comments or questions? I wanted to be here last night for the Bhagavad Gita class, but I wasn't able to because Devananda Prabhu in Las Vegas, he invited me to Bhagavad Gita. He wanted me to be there for the class, via Zoom, so I was there virtually in Las Vegas. Oh. Yeah, it's quite an enthusiastic group they have. There are about 10 devotees there, and they're going through the Bhagavad Gita. And one of the members of that group, his name's Joe. He's a nice guy. He's got a big beard and big dreadlocks. And he's a nice guy, but seems like a newer bhakta. And he was saying that. He said, "Oh, is Dravida Prabhu in SanDiego?" I said, "Yes, he is." He said, "Oh yeah, I always listen to that Shikshashtakam in Mayapur. I always listen to that Shikshashtakam in Mayapur, and it's really nice." And he said, I put it on sometimes when I'm chanting my last round, And I said, yeah, he's here, and he said, yeah, well, maybe we could come out there sometime. And are you guys open? Or I said, well, not exactly, but hopefully soon, gradually. And then he said that, would he do it live for us? I said, yeah, I think he would do that. He said, yeah, I really love to hear that live. And then we were talking, and then at the end, Devananda Prabhu was saying to me, he said, yeah, maybe when we open up more, because I visited there like whatever once or twice, but he said maybe when we open, yeah, because there was, I visited there once at their old place, it was pretty much just a small little warehouse and, simple. And then they got a new temple for about $1 million. They bought everything, they built it from scratch. Very beautiful, actually. Radha Jivan, I think his name is. Prabhu helped with that, a good fundraiser man. And he also has some Lakshmi, but he helped with that. And so I went once to the old warehouse, and then I went to the grand opening there. And then I went another time, and I gave a Sunday feast talk there at the new temple. But anyways, he was inviting me back. I said, okay, and sure, and I'd like to do that. And then Joe, he wrote in the comments section, he said, oh yeah, maybe Dravida Prabhu could come too, maybe he could visit. It's about a 4-hour drive or something like that. Maybe longer, I think 6 hours, 7 hours, something like that. But anyways, yeah, so nice group. All right. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada.